Membrane transport. There are two kinds of membrane transport. There is passive transport and there is active transport. Passive transport does not use ATP, whereas active transport uses ATP. That's the main difference between the two. So let's write it down here. Passive transport does not use ATP. Active transport uses ATP. Passive transport. Passive transport is mostly the movement of molecules down the gradient, which means they move from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So let's write that down the gradient. There are three kinds of passive transport: simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. So let's take a look at simple diffusion. This is the movement of molecules down the concentration gradient. So you move from a region of high concentration and molecules move down to a region of low concentration. So now let's take a look at facilitated diffusion. It's very much like simple diffusion, but the only difference is that facilitated diffusion needs a protein channel, which means larger molecules will move through this. Polar molecules will move through this channel. In simple diffusion, the movement of molecules are usually very small. So here we have a protein channel for facilitated diffusion. Now let's move to osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration of water molecules. So water usually moves from a place where there are fewer solutes to a place where there are more solutes. They move from a region of high concentration of water to a region of low concentration. In other words, water moves towards the salt. Now let's look at active transport. Active transport is different from passive transport in that all the three types of active transport require energy in the form of ATP. There are three main kinds of active transport. They are primary active transport, secondary active transport, and bulk transport. Primary active transport is brought about by a protein pump that is powered by ATP. You need this pump because molecules are moving from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration. The molecules are moving up the concentration gradient. In secondary active transport, which is very complex, there are two different transports going on at the front end and the back end of the cell. The front end has molecules moving down the gradient, and the back end has molecules moving up the gradient. Bulk transport deals with anything that's very large. It could be a bacteria, a virus, it could be many antibodies being released by a cell. If the molecules are entering the cell, we call it endocytosis, and if molecules are leaving the cell, we call it exocytosis. Bulk transport deals with very large molecules or small molecules packaged together. We need to remember that active transport requires ATP.